So you can imagine over the years, it was a winding road. And it was my mother's sheer willpower and commitment to education. And she believed in exposure as well as experience and education. So we moved from Washington, D.C. in New York when I was 2, solely for my education. It was her belief that the educational system in Washington, D.C. was segregated and I wouldn't get the best opportunities. So I went to a small Catholic school in Washington Heights, and from there went to Cornell, and I got a scholarship, much to my surprise. And from there went to UCSF in San Francisco for medical school, and the West Coast being really far ahead of the East Coast in terms of social issues. They were actively recruiting for underrepresented minorities. And that actually turned out to be a great choice, and probably the most influential years.
My journey is certainly not linear. I was going to earn a PhD, and I was going to teach political science. I wanted to be in the arena and to make a difference. Government can be a force of good. So I returned back to Long Island. I got involved locally in politics and then in government. And I was asked by the consultants that the county had hired to help it to understand the challenges being faced by its public hospital, the Nassau University Medical Centers. And they approached me and they said, we'd like you to run the Nassau University Medical Centers. That's not something I had ever done or considered. But their view was, they said, look, you know how to run, you know how to manage people, you know how to manage complex operations. That's what's needed there. You know how to do turnaround work. That's what's needed there. We can work with you on what you don't know. And bring to bear what you do know. So I joined Nassau University Medical Center, and there's a lot of stories to tell there. But the bottom line is that in my time there, I think we did some really good work, physical plant improvements, quality and safety improvements, bringing on really terrific clinicians like Richard as an example at that time in his career.
Growing up in a Korean immigrant family here in New York, because we couldn't afford to go to college. And so instead of going to college, I opened up a 1-hour photo store. 1-Hour Photos was on 77th and Lex, across the street from Lennoxville. And so I got to meet a lot of doctors. And one of my heroes of medicine was a guy named Bert Bell of the Libby Zion. He introduced me into medicine, and I followed him around Jacobi Hospital, ended up attending Albert Einstein College of Medicine and working at LIJ in the ER for quite a bit. And then finally at Nassau University Medical Center.
I'm also from an immigrant family. My mom is from Mexico. Her 2 main goals that she wanted me in life was to graduate from high school, which is the goal that she was never able to attain. And we also lived in a neighborhood in Los Angeles that had a lot of gangs. So she wanted to be sure that I surrounded myself by the right people and tried my best to stay out of gangs. I went to undergrad at UCLA. When I was there, I realized that from a career perspective, my passion was working with our communities, developing programs at a center called the Center for the Study of Latino Health and Culture, which is part of UCLA. They do a lot of qualitative and quantitative research, primarily on Latino health, how it impacts policy, how it impacts a lot of the programs that we do. The other thing that was really important that I learned is that I hated to do research. I had that job for 2 years, and I realized that I'm not a researcher. And I think that was really important for me to do something that I had a passion for. So after 2 years, I actually moved to New York City, came here to go to grad school at Columbia University.
So what we really needed at that point in time where nobody knew anything, we're learning on our feet. As we say, we're building the airplane while we're flying it, is guidance and giving some sense of security to the rest of your staff. Security around knowledge and the security around direction. I think that was the most important thing in that early days. A calm voice, steady the ship, share the knowledge. Everybody wants the information, and have the structure that people can take comfort in. There's somebody here who knows what's going on. So we're Health and Hospitals, the other CMOs, Tisch, New York Presbyterian, Mount Sinai, Northwell. We pick up the phone and share information because we are all in this together.
I think keeping a calm environment during those really hectic times was really important. Communicating the why we are doing things is really important, ensuring that they're calm and ensuring that they have an ability to ask questions and that we are able to answer, or at least bring the experts to address those questions was really important. Our resiliency as individuals, as leaders, as an organization was really important. And I think having open dialogue with our teams became critically important. That really, I think, allowed us to have that trust with our team.
The conversation we need to be having right now has to really talk about structural racism as to really talk about who's getting the vaccine and why. We really have to be cognizant of within the hospital system, we have people at different ends of the wage earning spectrum. We have people at the top, we have people at the bottom. We have people who use technology a different way. So there's a very sincere desire to do what's right, which is to educate not just about the virus, but to educate about the disparity and to talk about not only the vaccine hesitant, but why they're hesitant. The different racial groups. It was a difficult conversation a year ago, but if not now, when? So there are always choices and there are always difficult decisions. So I'm not thinking popular because in this position, the desire is not to be popular, but to be correct.
If you're in a health system, most of the larger health systems have organizational learning structures where they're going to teach you a lot of the skills that you want to have.
My work with looking at the extreme high achievers, they are all open to all opportunities. They say yes. They don't say no. They say yes to new experiences, and that's how they grow. One of the things that extreme high achievers do, who I study, is that they consume new knowledge all the time. So they either do it, as Juan said, by talking to other people. You can read, you can watch videos, you can listen to a podcast. I mean, there's so many ways that you can consume knowledge.
Just with respect to ongoing learning and education, one thing that's important for me, and I'm sure for everyone else on the panel, is healthcare policy changes regularly, whether it's in the city, the state, or the federal government. So for me, it's really important to keep up with that.
Your education should never end because things change all the time.
I think it's very important for people who are in management positions, who are in senior leadership positions. You've been given a gift and an opportunity, and it's important to pay that forward. And I think one of the ways to pay that forward is to take real interest in the careers of the people that report to you and spend time, value-added time in the cultivation of their careers.
If you want to be a leader, you have to work on yourself. Be a better person, spend time on your own, self-reflect. That's how you become a better leader.